Welcome back to the Works channel. My name is John. So far this year I've done a few videos based around using large diameter dowels instead of typical square stock. There are some obstacles to overcome because unlike square stock there aren't any flat reference faces to work off with dowels. I wanted to see if I could create a Maloof-like joint using dowels. That's what this video is about. A typical Maloof joint uses a combination of router bits and grooves to create a very strong joint, often used in sculpted chairs and other furniture. The joint creates a good amount of long-grain glue surfaces and is oftentimes reinforced with a screw or two. The joints I created in my bench and chair videos has a decent amount of glue surface, but there wasn't any mechanical reference to lock the joint in place. This joint will give me that mechanical reference. I'm starting with a block of laminated plywood, and the dimensions aren't terribly important. I just aim to have a good surface for my little router to stand on. I drilled an 1.5 inch hole using a Forstner bit, and this hole corresponds to the dowel diameter you are joining. The next step is to remove material from the block of wood, starting from the center and slowly working out until the jig fits over your workpiece. I took this in multiple passes at multiple depths. Using my dado stack, I snuck up on the right fit, but you could just as easily plane down your workpiece to fit the jig. Once I got the right fit at the lower height, I raised the blades to finish the jig. The height of the blade allows just about half of the hole to be overlapping the workpiece. Any further and the dowel can't slide onto the joint. I think my dado stack was a tad out of square because I ended up with a looser fit at the final height than I had with the lower height. For that reason, I shimmed the workpiece with some blue tape. This jig allows me to route two recesses that are perfectly aligned with one another. Using the drill press to drill the hole on the jig made sure each side would be aligned properly. With the jig in place, I can use a small pattern bit to route away the material. For this workpiece, I took the routing in 2 passes and aimed to leave myself with about a 1/2 inch of material. I haven't worked out all of the possibility for error in this jig, so I had to be really careful when turning everything over to route the other side. Next time, I'll try to clamp everything together so that there isn't the possibility for things to shift. The result left is a pair of semicircle recesses and a tongue or tenon in the middle. This tenon is the mechanical reference for the dowel to sit on. The next step is cutting a dado in the dowel that will allow it to perfectly join with the recesses and tenon just made. There are 2 parts to this: the thickness of the dado and the depth at which it is cut. I measured the tenon at 0.51 inches and set up my dado stack accordingly. It only took 2 tries after adding some shims to get a good fit. Next, I did a bunch of test cuts at various heights. There is only one perfect height that will get you the right joint where all of the surface meet at the same time. Any other height will leave some sort of gap. After about 8 or 9 test cuts, I finally found a suitable height, all while running out of 1.5 inch dowels, so I went to the lathe to turn some more. Once the new dowels were turned, I could cut the dados at the table saw. The joints were a tad loose, but I think that was due to the variance in the jig using the blue tape. It led to some height differences in the recesses, but that can easily be fixed next time I try this. Alright, thank you guys for watching. That's all I have for this one. If you did see my dowel chair video, then this is what I meant when I said I had another joint in mind for the chair, and unfortunately I didn't come to mind until after I'd finished the joinery on the chair. You can see that these turned out pretty nice. The cherry ones are a little bit better than the walnut one because I think when I was routing the walnut recess here, I used too much tape to shim the jig. I thought I used the right amount, but apparently not. So next time I do this, I think that I'll take more care in making a precise jig that matches the thickness of my stock, or even sanding down the stock to match the jig as opposed to making the jig to fit the stock. And I might also make the jig with 3 pieces, 1, 2, and 3 combined, as opposed to starting with a block of wood and then routing it out with a dado stack. I thought it would be more accurate to do it with the dado stack with a solid block, but I'm sure if I took care and took my time with the other version, it would turn out just as good. So I think with some glue and even a screw this would be a really strong joint. And like I mentioned in the title of this video, this is a different kind of Maloof joint. It's a play on that using a dowel as the leg as opposed to square stock that gets sculpted. And the hard part about this joint is that you have to do a lot of test cuts to sneak up on it, and there's not much room for error because you don't sculpt this joint away. In a Maloof joint, you generally sculpt the joint and blend it so that you can kind of hide some errors, not all of them, but some of them. This one, you don't really have that luxury. You have to get all of your parts sanded and smoothed out before you glue them up, and that just makes it a little bit more difficult. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.